There's a special mission underway in the memory of Auckland teacher Tony McClean. It connects New Zealand to the small Himalayan country of Nepal, and it's carried out by some of Tony's closest friends, family, and church community. Tony used to worship at Eastview Baptist Church, where his father, John McClean, is pastor. And as John told me, Tony's love for God and life was expressed in many ways, through teaching, outdoor sports, and mission work.
Well, he's always been interested in adventures, and he's always been interested in including others, so that's really led him to enabling others to participate in what he was doing. And in 2006 he had a season snowboarding in Canada, and then with his friends in Canada, after the snow went, they drove down the west coast of the United States through the states there and then across into Mexico. And Tony could see it going across into Mexico, just a transformation in people's living standards. At the same time reading the book, which is challenging Western Christians to think about poverty and our connection to it, and then having had the very Western experience of a season snowboarding, the whole thing came together and challenged him. He wanted to make a difference through missions to cultures and in places that didn't have the opportunities that he had. That was when he started to plan his adventure overseas, and he had a number of stops he was going to do, and Nepal was one of them, and he arranged a time teaching with at a leprosy hospital in Pokhara. He had made lots of friends there amongst Nepali people, and they had really challenged him. People who had come from very impoverished backgrounds, who were had committed themselves to making a difference in their own areas that they'd grown up, in areas in health and in education, and providing trade skills, providing a future.
The faith and determination that Tony observed in his new Nepalese friends inspired him to return home with a plan. And that plan was to forge lasting relationships between the Pokhara Christian community and his church back in New Zealand, relationships built on faith and works.
And he emailed us from Nepal about his plans, but it wasn't really until after he died that we realised the depth of them. We were going through his laptop after he died, and we found that he had a 5-year plan for Eastview Baptist Church's involvement with his friends in Nepal. And his connections, his contacts were all there in their emails, so we made friends with them via the internet and did a lot of discussions about how we might continue being in partnership with them. And they were very encouraging and welcoming, and so then we started tentatively exploring face-to-face connections.
And that's how Tony's Nepal Trust got started. Tony's family and friends in New Zealand decided to meet his Nepalese friends face-to-face and help them put the gospel message into action. Tony's childhood friend John Ward is one of the trustees, and it's a special joy for him to now be continuing Tony's vision.
Yeah, we shared a lot of interests in common, including adventures and camping and surfing and all the good things in life, really. So he was a very special friend, and it was great to be involved in continuing part of his legacy. I really became excited about it after John and the other guys from this church came back at the end of 2010, and they presented to the church and talked a bit about what they had done, and they highlighted a few key problems, and one of them was clean water. The village Garambesi, where they had visited, has lots of water supply, but it's all completely unimproved, and there is a very high rate of sickness and disease from that. And another problem is indoor air pollution. They predominantly cook indoors over open fires, and so they have a lot of smoke in their houses, and the houses are largely quite poorly ventilated. So there's a large, high rate of asthma and lung disease and burns and things that are associated with that. So they were the things that I think sort of grabbed me at first and thought, well, these are some concrete problems with some people that we have contact with, and we could probably do something to help.
Donald led a team to Nepal last year to work on those projects in Garambesi, providing water filters and installing smoke hoods in homes.
We took up some good tools and some resources and supplies and plans of how to make a smoke hood, and we took charge of 4 of the local carpenters, and over a 3-day period we showed them how to make a smoke hood and install it, and they were great. They were incredibly quick learners. That was actually a lot easier than we thought it would be, and yeah, it should make a good difference for them in the village.
Tony's Nepal Trust is also raising funds to train up local health workers and teachers for Garambeshi.
They've been finding young people with potential but not much hope, and taking them to Pokara and educating them and giving them skills, then sending them back to that area to serve as part of their health and education projects. One of those teachers is being funded by Tony's Trust from here.
John and Jono were touched by their experiences in Nepal, first through the relationships Tony had formed, and now because of their own commitment to the people of Pokara and Garambeshi.
One of them was a special friend that when he went there, he was actually a little bit lonely, so he went to the local church and said, could he connect with some people, and they had introduced him to a man called Chunman Harajan, who became a very good friend, and he was very welcoming to us, and was quite emotional for him to connect with us from New Zealand, because his friendship with Tony was very strong. He was very supportive of Tony and vice versa.
It was a profoundly moving experience for Tony's father and his friend. Each of the men came away with something personal.
It transformed my view of mission. It really inspired me to what is possible to do here in our own backyard, what these people are doing in a small way through commitment and energy and inspiration with virtually nothing.
I think all of us that went on this trip were really blessed by the people and their commitment and passion, and how much they live their faith, and how much it cost them to live their faith in the place they are. And they're very much a minority, and they're quite marginalised. The Christians aren't sort of well regarded by the other villages, but they're so committed to just loving that village, whatever it cost them, and their persistence. I think it took them 3 goes to actually get the church set up in that village, and they kept trying and they failed. They tried again a few months later and failed, and on the 3rd time it finally sort of took. So it was incredibly inspiring to spend time with them. I think it was very much a case that in some ways we blessed them with what we could bring, but they very much blessed us with what they had already.
Between projects, Jono says even though they're far away, it's important for the team members to keep up those relationships with the people of Pokara and Garambeshi.
We can sort of email back and forth and get news and hear how things are going there, and obviously through the trust we're committed to having continued involvement with the relationships we've established up there and keep on supporting these projects.
The members of Tony's Nepal Trust remain committed to their Nepalese brothers and sisters in Christ through aid, education, and enduring friendships. It's something everyone involved says they feel blessed to be part of, aware they are living out Tony's dream.